system's rigged, man, it's time to break free. Eyes wide open, gotta see what I see. Standing on the front lines, fighting for the truth. Lift the veil of lies, it's time to be the proof. Take a stand, don't you back down. Raise your voice, let's shake the town. We're the voices that won't be ignored. Breaking chains, yeah, we're ready.
All right, the parties are present in the courtroom. And Mr. Wiggs, at this time, does your client wish to testify?
Yes, she does, Judge.
Okay. Is there anything further before we bring the jurors in?
Yes, Your Honor. The testimony of Ms. Shaver as it relates to any sort of other acts by her deceased husband needs to be limited to things that Isabel had knowledge about and was aware of. The only thing that matters as it relates to these prior acts go to what was reasonable for the person acting in defense of others at that time. So Ms. Shaver, the defendant, is unable to come up and just testify about all sorts of other things Mr. Shaver may have done to her over the course of their relationship, due to the fact that if Isabel Shaver did not observe it, and we've heard what her testimony is at this point, it's not relevant to the state of mind of the person acting in defense of others. So the state would move in limine to make sure that any sort of testimony of any acts by Michael Shaver upon Laurie Shaver be confined to the things that have already been testified to about which the person who shot had knowledge of about, which at this point is pretty much limited to the 2014 incident and general discussions of just fighting, and there's been very limited discussions of physical abuse. There have been allegations referred to in other documents of being locked in closets and sexual battery and things of that nature, and as there's no testimony from the person who shot as to knowledge about any of those things and why they acted in defense of others, any testimony about that would be irrelevant.
Judge, this child just testified that she saw repeated acts that impacted her mentally. Now, I know the court has directed we not go into details on events, but I think it's appropriate to talk about circumstances of events that may have impacted the child without still going into details. The child testified it was a monthly issue all the time, stress, batteries, events like that. I think that's appropriate to touch on, but not go into specific details. And that, I think, is your order.
I'll allow it to that extent.
Yes,
Okay.
and I would just say, I don't oppose counsel interjecting or even the court interjecting if you feel it's getting a little outside of where you want it to be.
All right, anything further?
Yes, sir.
Okay. All right, let's call the jurors. Please be seated. I see that all of the members of the jury have returned after our comfort break. Please proceed.
May it please the court.
Yes, sir.
The defense would call Laurie Shaver.
Ms. Shaver, please have a seat at the witness stand. Please make yourself comfortable. Let me know when you're ready to proceed. Please state and spell your full legal name.
Laurie Filmer, Lauriefilmer.
Okay. Please raise your right hand. Do you solemnly swear or affirm that any testimony you give today shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do.
All right. Thank you. Please proceed.
Thank you. Ms. Filmer, would you state your name for the record, please?
Laurie Filmer, previously known as Laurie Shaver.
A big day in your life, isn't it? Big week. Been several years, hasn't it, Ms. Filmer? Tell me when you're ready, okay? Would you tell the jury who you are and how you met Michael Shaver?
I met Michael, we started dating in 7th grade. We lived in a very small town in Lawrence, New York. Our school was K through 12, 500 kids. Our graduating class was like 14, 18 kids. We went to kindergarten together. I met Michael in tech class, when they actually did tech class, in 7th grade.
We reached a period of time where y'all elected to get married, correct?
Yes.
Do you remember when that was?
May of 2016.
Okay. And at some point in time, y'all ended up migrating to the state of Florida.
Yes.
Okay. And do you remember approximately when that was?
I graduated in 2001. Went to college. So Mike was a dropout. He got his GED. He wanted to become a pilot. Didn't have much funding for that. My parents paid for it. I went to school for business administration and focus in health service administration. So I was very socially awkward. Wasn't a popular kid in school.
Okay.
My brother, one of my oldest brothers, I'm the youngest of 5. One of my brothers got meningitis at 7 weeks, and he was severely mentally retarded. He got picked on a lot. So growing up in a small town, that was not like acceptable way back then. And I spent all my time in the handicapped classroom. And that was like not popular. I was an outcast. He used to get beat up on the bus, and I would stick up for him. I met Mike had gone to school with him, but in 7th grade, in tech class, we became friends. He was an awkward kid as well, because he was kind of like a troublemaker at that time. And I didn't have anybody, he didn't have anybody. We kind of clung together at that point.
Okay. So there's some period of time went by, y'all got married, ended up down here, correct?
Yes.
Mike wanted to be a pilot, couldn't do that, or what?
No, he did. Yep.
Okay. Did he?
Eventually did.
Okay. Did he fly commercial, or was it a hobby?
Nope. He, my parents helped him get his personal private pilot's license. He wanted to go on and get his professional pilot license. My parents told him that if he was going to date me, he was going to get his GED, and they would help him. He looked to his family to get assistance with that. He was denied. So it took some time. It took a lot of time, but eventually he made his way. He started flying for Pan Am Flight Academy, which is the lower division of U.S. Airways out of New York City.
Okay.
Yep, he was doing good.
So eventually you end up down here, and Mike transgresses into another occupation. How did that happen?
Well, we first moved, so I worked for MetLife Disability. I worked for them for 15 years, corporate. I worked for them in office for 4 years. When Mike finally succeeded in everything, we were able to move. We moved to Florida, Fort Pierce, Florida, when I was 7 weeks pregnant with Isabel.
Okay.
We were there for about a year. We moved back to New York. We got hit with our first hurricane ever. It was kind of like a scary thing. We were top tier of an apartment building. A tree came in. We didn't know what to do. We packed up our stuff. We were back in New York 3 days later.
Okay.
Then after that, we were there for about a year. I was still working for MetLife, but at that time, work from home was kind of becoming popular, and I was able to, again, move my work to Florida, and we moved to Orlando, right next to the airport, and I was working from home, had Isabel, and he was commuting from Orlando to New York City on a weekly basis. He was gone for weeks at a time.
Okay. What happened next in y'all's life?
There was a lot. We just had each other. I don't know how else to explain it. We just had each other. I was a single mom in a new place with no family, no friends. He was a pilot. He was gone all the time. There was no support from either family.
Now we heard from family in this case of Mike's come in and they said, well, we haven't heard from him for this period of time or that period of time. Was he close with his family at all?
No.
Do you ever visit him?
Stacy? Yes.
Did any of them ever visit your residence?
Never. They didn't even come to the wedding.
Okay.
But when we were growing up through high school, we would go to Stacy's all the time. Christmas, Thanksgiving, birthdays. I knew Desiree. I knew Danny. And you know that. And every time we would go over there and meet, you and Mike used to always get together and talk about how your dad evaded the whole family.
Okay. What was the next step in y'all's marriage?
So from there, there was a lot of issues. A lot of issues. He was away, gone for over a week. I packed up Isabel, and we had flight privileges. We could fly for free. I packed her up, and when he was gone, took her to New York, where my family was, thinking I could get away, get support, file for a divorce. Everything was good. Rented a house. Everything was good. I was back working at MetLife in the office. My sister works there. She's actually the operations manager now. She's a nurse. She started her way down low. She was actually the one that got me the job, told me that they were doing this mass hiring. And now she's the operations manager of MetLife in Oriskany. So I packed Isabel up. She was just a little over a year old. We went there. And,
Where was Mike?
well, he was off on a business trip. But we had, back then you used to have flying privileges. You could just, you were just on standby. As long as you could just get on the plane, you could fly anywhere you wanted to for free back then. So that's what I did. I got away. My sister was helping me. We got a house. We rented a house. Everything was all right, this is going to work. I was seeking an attorney in New York, filing for divorce. My mom, I joined a gym, and I went to a spinning class one day. I came home that night. My mom was watching Isabel, who was a baby. I went into the shower. When I came out, my mom was not there.
Okay.
I was greeted by a punch in the face.
Objection, Your Honor.
Excuse me. Okay. Let's limit it
Okay.
without physical
Okay.
description.
I was greeted by Michael.
Okay.
3 weeks later,
All right.
I was out of work for 3 weeks. And we were all back in Florida 3 weeks after that. And I was again working from home without my family, without any support. And we were living in Davenport, Florida at that time, Champions Gate area.
Let's transgress into the family environment. Did it ever develop, Laurie, into an atmosphere where there was tension, so to speak?
There was always tension.
Let's talk about the nature of the tension.
Yes, sir.
I don't want to see pictures.
I'm showing you a composite of images. I want you to look through those. Laurie, that's number 2. Does it bring back any memories?
I have the memories. I don't need to look at pictures.
Now, without articulating the specific facts of those events, did you suffer any injuries at the hands of Michael Shaver? Showing you Defense 3 identification. Who was that? Who's in that photo?
Michael.
Whose blood is on that shirt? Michael Shaver.
Michael's.
Okay. Was that a consequence of an altercation between you and Michael Shaver?
Yes.
When these incidents occurred, would these occur around the family
Yes.
and the occupants of that family?
Sometimes.
Pardon me?
Sometimes. Most of the time. I mean, he didn't hide it.
Let's talk about your relationship with Isabel. What was your relationship like with Isabel?
Like when? When she was younger or now?
Well, when y'all were younger, did Isabel ever develop a feeling or a need to protect you?
Objection, Your Honor. Speculation.
Did she demonstrate? Did she demonstrate?
Isabel grew up really fast. She had to take care of Aiden when I was not able to.
As a consequence of these events?
Yes. And even to this day, she still, I am not the person to, if you come at me with something, I don't have a comeback. I will shut down and I will just retreat. She's not that person. She will get right in front of me, whether we're at the gas station or grocery shopping. There used to be a time period where I could not even go into a grocery store by myself.
Were there events wherein you were not free to leave the residence?
Yes.
Would anybody control your freedom of movement?
Yes. Obviously I've gained weight over the years, but my eating was controlled. I had anorexia and bulimia. I probably the way this now what I did with all 4 of my kids, but I literally reached for an Oreo one time and was thrown off the couch.
Now, at some point in time, Michael took a job at Disney, correct? Okay. Do you remember when that was?
I don't remember the exact time. When we had moved back from New York to Florida, that's kind of when the whole Disney thing came about, because he didn't want to leave me alone. And I mean, from my presumption, it was because he wanted to be around and, you know, make sure that nothing was going to happen.
Okay.
Or I wasn't going to leave.
Was there any attempts to leave Michael?
Probably about 8.
Okay. One moment. Judge, I'm going to ask my clerk.
All right, can I see this document, please?
All right, sidebar, please. Come on up.
pertain to Laurie Shaver. Now film her. Do those documents refer to Michael Shaver?
Yes.
Do these documents pertain to any acts of violence pertaining to Michael Shaver?
Yes.
Do these documents pertain to injunctions for protection filed on your behalf against Michael Shaver?
Yes. And there was an additional one filed by the state.
Were those filed on your behalf as a consequence of violence and a feeling of a need for protection?
Those three?
Yes. Was Michael at points in times directed to reside outside of the residence
Yes, he was.
by the courts?
Yes.
Okay. For the need for your protection?
Yes.
And were those injunctions issued as a consequence of violence? We've heard a lot of witnesses that have taken the stand in this case, correct? We heard from a Mr. Amatuccio, correct? He represented, if I'm not correct, that he was Mike's best friend.
He was not.
Pardon me?
He was not as an adult.
We approached
Sidebar, please.
I believe Mr. Amatuccio took the stand and testified to this jury that he was Michael's best friend. Was Mr. Amatuccio at the house very often?
No,
Pardon me?
he was not. Not after we all got married and had kids.
Mr. Merritt took the stand as well, correct?
Correct.
And was it Mr. Merritt that declared he had gone to the truck show with y'all?
Tractor show.
Tractor show? Okay. Did Mr. Merritt spend time at the residence with y'all?
Not very often. I've probably seen him twice before that.
Okay. Now, there was testimony about your mood or something out at the tractor show, correct? Were there any issues going on at the tractor show that the jury needs to know?
Not prior. It was happening at the tractor show.
What was happening?
Isabel was not feeling well. She was getting sick to her stomach. She was getting dizzy. She was getting hot. She's not able to her body does not tolerate heat or cold. Like she becomes very flushed and sick, and I wanted to leave because she was feeling sick, and we were walking a very long time. I mean, hours.
Okay.
And there was no stroller, nothing. I just wanted to leave for her. He did not want to leave. I guess the whole point was for us to go there to maybe get a mutual relationship with Frank and Rita. But she was sick. And I was, as a mom, I just wanted to leave because she was sick. And he didn't want to leave. I don't know how else to explain it.
Okay. There was testimony about contacts with you, and you represented that Michael, you believed he had left or gone to a certain location, correct?
At what time period?
There was a witness that testified that you had reported that he had gone to Georgia or New York or somewhere.
I had received a message from Stacy stating
Who's
that
Stacy? Who's Stacy?
his sister.
Okay.
She had contacted me saying that she hadn't heard from Michael. And I told her I did not either. And she said, well, his mom is sick. So, if you hear from him, or you can let, I said, if I hear from him, or I will let one of his friends know that his mom is sick so that they can relay the message. Frank Merritt came by. I told him that his mom was sick. So if he's seen him, to let him know. Frank Merritt was not close with us. So I never told him that he went to Georgia. I said he went to go see his mom. Here is the misconception. His mom, Sharon Shaver, the one that was sick, lives in New York. Frank Merritt did not know the family well enough at that time. He automatically assumed, in my mind, that he went to Georgia to see his stepmom, Sharon Shaver.
I see. Okay.
I never made the statement he went to Georgia. I said he possibly could have went to go see his sick mom.
We also heard other witnesses testify, correct? There was testimony about a sale of guns, correct? Now, my understanding, y'all had a relatively large cache of guns around the house. Is that correct? Pardon me?
Yes.
Okay. Was Mike collecting guns? What was his?
He had a hobby of building them.
I see. Okay. So Mike would build guns, sell them out on the market somewhere?
For his friends, or no, he built them and would just keep them, collect them.
Okay. And with regards to the guns, we heard Isabel testify that Mike had dealt with the guns and been training the kids how to fire guns.
Yeah. They knew gun safety.
Okay. Did he practice this with them?
Yes, he did.
Did Isabel know how to fire a gun?
Yes.
Okay.
Everybody did. We had the 5 acres. There was target. We taught we used to go to the gun range as well, but we taught them how to various guns, check to see if they were loaded, unloaded, how to fire, and he would have them walk around the house after they checked to see if they were unloaded or whatnot, walk around the house with them pointing down, teaching them not to point at anybody. Even with Nerf guns, they were not allowed to point them at people, things like that.
Okay. There came a period of time, because of these injunctions that were filed, that Michael was out of the house, correct?
Yes.
And there came a period of time you started dating other people, correct? It was it Mr. Bray? Who was it that
Alan?
Pardon me? Ballou, wasn't it? Yeah. You dated Mr. Ballou. Was he married or single?
Yep.
Okay. Did y'all date long?
No.
Okay. Did he have any issues with Michael?
Yes.
Then at some point in time, you met Jeremy Townsend, correct? Tell us how you met Jeremy, where you met Jeremy.
I met Jeremy at the school,
At the school?
not at the park.
Okay.
He had an opal color truck. I had a white truck. There was 2 lanes coming out, and we were both there at the same time towards the end of August. And he rolled down the passenger window and handed me a sticky note, and I grabbed it, and it said, "I know what you're going through. I can help you. Call me." And he gave me his number.
Why would he suggest that?
I had marks on my face.
Okay. So did you call Mr. Townsend?
I did. I went to, what is it, the racetrack right there at the end of 33. And I called him.
Okay. Now, Mr. Townsend testified that this was kind of an informal relationship. He characterized it as one of friends with benefits, correct?
He did.
Okay. Did Mr. Townsend lead you to believe that he was single?
Yes.
Okay. There's digital data that's been introduced of text, I believe. Does some of that contradict his statement here in court?
Well, that's why I asked him, why did you lie to me?
Pardon me?
That's why I asked him in those texts that were introduced today, why did you lie to me?
Why is that?
Because he was separated from his wife. And then I found out that he was now back together with her. So I said, why did you lie to me? Why all of a sudden are you wearing your wedding ring again? Yes.
I see. Now, did Jeremy come by the house often?
Every day.
Every day?
Every day.
Morning, night, what times?
He would come by in the mornings. Well, initially we would meet at the school. He would drop his son off. I would, when our relationship first started, and I would have Isabella and Aiden, and we'd show up early and we'd sit in the school car line, and he'd come back to the truck where I had my kids, and we'd all just converse in the morning while we sat there and waited until school started. Sometimes Vanessa would come out and get Trent out of his truck early and take him in because she was a teacher there. And then he would leave, go off to work. He worked in, he did landscaping. He had a partnership landscaping business. And I worked from home. So from there, probably in December, because prior to that I did Beachbody from home. I was doing Beachbody sales from home. Social anxiety. I had never, ever, ever, ever been to a gym before. He was going to Gold's Gym, which I don't remember what Austin said it's called now. But anyways, it was the Gold's Gym where he was a member of. And I was like, okay, that's fine. But I don't know how to use anything. I'm not going to go in and do it because I only worked out from home through like videos. So he goes, no, I know somebody there. It was a female because I wasn't comfortable with males. And he set me up with Rebecca Filmer, a personal trainer. That's how I met Austin and Becca. Becca and I became really close. We would go out dancing on Fridays. Like, my social life just kind of expanded from there. I started to see that there was a life outside of my home. I mean, little as it was, but it was still nice.
Now, did you ever confide in Jay about your situation with Mike?
Yes. So that all happened at the beginning. Obviously, he had seen that I had marks on my face. So I called him, and we did meet at the park after that to talk. And we met a few times, and it was just talking, friendship. And it was nice to have somebody to talk to, but he told me about his history in the military. He also told me that he was a bodyguard for some professional boxer, and I cannot remember the name. He would travel and be his bodyguard whenever he was on tour. He told me that he was in special ops. He served on the Bush administration in Washington, D.C. as security. Tons of stuff. Sniper. Told me everything.
Okay. And we saw those contradictions with his testimony, correct? Did Mr. Townsend make any representations to you that he would protect you from Michael?
Yes. From the very beginning.
Okay.
Yep. Told me if I ever needed anything that I could contact him. And he was always on top of it. If Becca and I went out dancing in the evening, he would come over. He would see me before we went out. And while we were out, he would call, and we would have to send him a picture to show him that we were there, where we were. And when I left, I would have to let him know that I was on my way home, and then also let him know that I had gotten home. He knew everything. He had everything. He kept track of me every step of the way.
Okay. Let's talk about the event that's landed you here. Shift gear over there, okay? Michael was out of the house at that time?
Yeah.
Is it my understanding he'd been living at the airport?
Yes. So the battery had happened in 2014. The state imposed an injunction. DCF was involved. Mike went through counseling, everything like that. Mike was all that I knew. And during that time period, we both dated other people. I mean, you all heard that. Once everything was up, I guess you could say, we started talking again. But DCF had been in the house, and they said that as long as he was not in the picture, everything was okay. But if he came back,
They were going to take action?
yeah. So they had offered to move me and the two kids, change our names, change our socials.
Because
We had already moved so much. We finally were in a good school. The kids had good friends. And there was a point where Isabel had asked, like, you know, is this where we're going to live now? And I said, yep, we're never moving again. This is where we're staying. They went to a great school. Great friends. So when DCF came in and offered that, I'm like, nope, I'm strong now. I'm going to go to counseling. I went to Celebrate Recovery for codependency. I was going to live stream counseling. I thought I had it. So I'm like, nope, I'm going to stand my ground.
Okay.
And so I didn't leave. Dated. obviously those relationships sucked, failed. And I went back. I loved Michael.
Did it work out?
No. We tried. He was back in the house maybe well, in September 2014, he was back in the house 2 weeks. And then I should have learned my lesson then, but I didn't. And then in 2015, when we had gotten back together, Wilma Nichols, our neighbor, very nosy lady, Mike would go to work. We would pick him up at L.J. Yates' house, who has not testified. L.J. Yates lived on 33. He also worked at Disney. Mike would drive from Disney to his house, and we would pick him up there and bring him back to the house, and he would duck so nobody would see him. And then he would sleep there all day. He built a privacy wall on our back patio so Wilma couldn't see, and she had to put a gate so that she could just come over whenever she wanted, so we put a lock on there so she couldn't do that. And then he worked overnights. So about 7 o'clock, we would take him back to L.J. Yates' house, and then he would go from there to work, and we continued that for a long time.
Okay. So this in the house, out of the house, that continued on and off, correct?
Yes.
Okay. So there did come a point in time when you were later with Jeremy, correct? So that's later in time, correct, to those events?
Yeah. It was a couple months later. Like I said, school had just started. I had went to school without dropping the kids off, whatever. I had marks on my face. Jeremy noticed. He sent me a message. I started talking to him. Obviously talking to him reassuring me. He was saying all the right things. I kind of fell for it. I'm not denying that. I did. It was nice, right? Because now I'm back into
Solid ground.
yeah. And it wasn't working, and I'm like, I'm right back into it. So my birthday, Jeremy and I had talked about plans to go out shopping, going to the movies, going to Hurricanes. You know, just hanging out for the day while the kids were in school. Awesome. Mike was still in the house at that time. And I had told him that I had just wanted to go out for the day, go shopping, get my nails done, whatever. And he absolutely refused. So I threw a fit as I was walking away from him. He had given me my birthday presents. As I was walking away, he threw a...
Let's not talk about
Okay,
specific
okay.
events, okay? Let's stay on the factual area
Right.
of those events, okay? But there was an altercation arising out of that
Correct.
confrontation, correct?
Mhm.
Okay. And so eventually, I take it, Michael's out of the house at a period of time, okay?
So I kicked him out, I think it was November 10th.
Okay. We heard testimony from one witness, and that you were waving a gun at Michael, threatening him. Some witness, he said he got in between you.
That was Robert Mercado.
Robert Mercado. Did that ever happen?
No, it did not.
Why was Robert Mercado at the residence?
We were all hanging out, barbecue, whatever. I honestly don't remember. We were all on the back porch. There was drinking involved. Mike became irate. I went into the bedroom. He tried coming over me out the dresser. Robert stood in between. He separated him. Mike left the property. We couldn't get a hold of him. We called 911, in fear of Michael doing something to himself. There is a 911 call for that. They did make contact with him. And that was that. But no, there was no gun involved on that evening.
Okay. The gun that's been introduced into evidence, was this gun used in the commission of this case?
No, it was not.
What happened to that gun?
I never seen it again. I don't know.
Who would have taken it?
Jeremy was the last one that had it.
So let's transgress into this event that led to these charges. Laurie, okay? You remember the event? You're in the house, correct?
I was in the house initially. Michael did not enter the house.
Okay. Was it morning, noon? Take us through it,
Morning.
okay? And tell the jurors how this transpired.
I got up, got my coffee, and then that's when I noticed he was sitting out on the back patio. We had 2 tables. There was like one long one, and then there was a smaller round table with 2 chairs. I seen him sitting there. So I got the kids. I don't remember if it was Pop-Tarts, breakfast bars, whatever. They're Ovaltine. They always had Ovaltine. They had tables in their bedrooms. I went in and got them their clothes, gave them their breakfast, turned on the TV, and I just said, eat your breakfast, get ready for school, which they did. Just like every other morning, I'm going to go out and take care of the animals. We had over 400 birds. We had pigs. I rescued a horse. There was lots of animals on the property. So that was not unnormal for me to go outside while they were inside getting ready. So I went out there, but I knew he was sitting out there. I could see him through the kitchen window out in the back patio. So I went out there, and we started talking, and it escalated. And I went to walk back in because this wasn't going anywhere, and he was not leaving. And I opened the sliding glass door to go in. And when I did that, he took my phone and slammed it up against the sliding glass door. There was an imprint of my phone on that sliding glass door. He grabbed my arm, pulled me down into his lap. In the furthest chair, that was, I don't have a picture in front of me, but the sliding glass door, there was like a post, and there was we had like a bistro table sitting there in front. And on this further side, I guess, in front of the sliding glass door, there was a chair. So he had pulled me down in his lap. He was holding on to me. And at that point, I was just trying to convince him, like, okay, enough. We'll work it out.
What's he saying to you during this, Laurie?
I was talking at that point. I was scared. That's why I'm saying, okay, we can work it out. Because that's what I did every single time. Because I was scared. And he told me not this time.
Was he upset about anything in particular that you're aware of?
Yes, he found out I had gotten pregnant.
From Jay?
Yes.
Okay. So, is he mentioning that in his discussion or what?
Oh, yeah. I mean, not at that time. We had, it was previously before he pulled me into his lap, but I mean, he knew.
Okay.
So I was like, okay, we'll work it out. Because at that point, I had already had the abortion.
So, are you facing the house or facing away from the house? Tell us your direction.
I'm facing looking out to the back pasture. I'm on the back porch, but I'm not looking into the house.
Okay. Now, he spins you around and you're in the chair, I take it?
I'm in his lap. He's holding me there.
Okay,
And then he pushed me to the ground.
okay. As he pushes you to the ground, does he do anything?
After he pushed me to the ground, he was kicking me in the stomach.
Okay. Presuming you were pregnant or something?
Yeah, and I had already told him I had the abortion, and I was screaming at that point.
Okay. Is he making any threats to do any harm to you, any serious bodily harm?
Yeah, I mean, he said not this time. He said I was not getting away.
Okay.
Not this time. I mean, we had been through so many events, but that's not the first time. I mean, he had pulled a gun out me at Publix in Claremont. This was not the
Okay,
first time.
let's not talk about prior events. Okay? Yeah, I'm sorry. So you're on the ground, and he's kicking you.
In the stomach.
Okay. Is he kicking you hard?
Yes.
Okay.
Very hard.
Is he
I was
making
curling
any?
up.
Okay. Is he making any statements of any intent to kill you or anything of that nature?
Yes.
Okay. Is he speaking in such a level that the children could hear this?
Oh, yeah, we both were.
Okay.
I was screaming.
Okay. As he's doing this, and he's not relenting on it, did he have his foot anywhere?
Well, that went on for a few minutes, and then he put his face or his foot on my face,
Okay.
smashing it into the patio, porch,
Okay.
whatever you want to call it.
As he has his foot on your face, is it on the front of your face, the side of your face?
I was facing him. Now I'm curled up facing the house. And it was just like this.
Is he continue to yell?
Hmm?
Is he yelling at you?
Not at that point. Nope. No. We were sitting there, and I could not yell anymore.
We heard
He's
from,
just sitting in the chair as he's smashing my face into the porch.
what's the next thing you recall?
The next thing I see is I can't even say that I seen her. I more or less heard it, and then I think I seen her.
When you say her, who are you referring to?
About
Isabel? What's Isabel do?
she had fired a gunshot.
Now, when Isabel fires this gunshot, do you see where it lodged into Michael or what?
I could not.
Where are you after Isabel fires the gun?
Still on the ground. And
And-
Michael.
The next thing you recall?
The next thing I recall is seeing Jeremy, and hearing the gunshot at essentially the same time.
Is there much time that goes by between Isabel shooting the gun and Jay taking over, or Jeremy?
No, it felt like forever. I remember looking at her.
Had you gotten off the ground?
No, I had not. Michael was still sitting in the chair. And
After Jay comes, you hear Jay discharge the firearm. And after Jay discharges the firearm, what do you hear next or observe next?
at that point, I started crawling away, but Michael fell forward out of the chair.
Fell forward on the chair?
Out of the chair.
Okay. Was that after Jeremy shot or after Isabel shot?
Jeremy.
after Jeremy makes that shot into Michael, what happens after that?
I got up, we went into the house, we went into Isabel's room, and
Now, who has the gun at that point?
I don't recall that he had the gun. I don't know.
Okay. Did you see
He was the last one with the gun.
Okay. Did you see Isabel carrying it after that?
No. But it wasn't carried into her room where we were having a conversation.
Now, Jeremy makes that shot. You get up, you go into the house. Are any statements made by Jeremy?
Yes. So he tells me to take the kids, get them out of the house, and he would take care of it. He insinuated that if we said anything, that she would be taken away, and he said that he was not going to take the blame for this.
So what did you do?
I took the kids. I left. That's what I always did. I took the kids and I left.
Where'd you take them?
I took them to school. I wanted to get back home. I did not know what was going to happen after that, but I wanted to get the kids out. And the only place I had to take them was school. It wasn't that far away.
So you take the kids to school, come back to the house. Is Michael there?
No.
Is Jay there?
No. Nope. No. And we had a conversation with Aiden. I remember that. He had obviously heard commotion. And he didn't know what happened. He didn't see it. He was in his room, which was at the further end of the house. And I had just told him, your dad's going away for a long, long time, and insinuated that he was going to jail.
Now, did you see any fresh dug holes on the property as you walked about it or moved about it beyond that point?
No.
When Jeremy said, "I'll take care of this," did you have any reason to believe that that body was on your property?
No, never. There's no way he could have. I wasn't gone that long where he could have. Finding out the dimension? No. Mm-mm. He came back. It was probably about 2 in the afternoon.
Now, did you know whether or not his family had property elsewhere?
Yes.
Did you make any assumptions that it may have been taken
Yes.
somewhere else?
And I had questioned him about that. They had 30 acres. He said 5. He had told me 30 acres. I don't know what's true or what's not anymore. But I was told they had 30 acres. I asked him that.
After that event, what happened to your relationship with Jeremy?
It ended. I had found out. I became pregnant. We were talking about getting engaged. We went and looked at houses. And then I find out that he's now trying to work it out with his wife. And then that happened. And I was so overwhelmed at that point.
Now,
I ended it.
the relationship ends between the two of y'all. You go on with your life. At some point in time, you meet Travis.
Yes.
When did Travis come into your life?
At the end of May.
Pardon me?
He came by the house at the end of May. My sister was there. He came by. Becca, Austin were there. We had a get-together, and he was there.
Did you have any discussion with Travis and relay that, Michael was dead, or any discussion about that?
No. I never mentioned it to anybody.
There later came a point in time when this patio was built, correct? The fire pit?
Yeah.
Tell us, we've heard circumstances about that. How did that end up, and why did that end up being placed at that location?
It was a big open area in the backyard. When Jeremy and I were together, it was an idea that we would lay concrete down. He was supposed to help me with it. That's why the concrete was bought in January of 2016, I think it was. We sat down, we talked about the dimensions of it, and he was explaining to me how to calculate how much concrete you would need and whatnot. I went out and bought it. And then bought it, unloaded it into the shed. And it sat there until September, later that year.
And then you had broken up with Jeremy, correct? And then later you take up with Travis,
Correct.
correct? And eventually this fire pit gets dug, correct? Or had been dug, prepped for a duck pond,
We
correct?
didn't dig any more.
Yeah, it had been dug out, my understanding, for a duck pond, correct?
Yeah, previously. That was even previous to Jeremy.
Yeah. And y'all abandoned that attempt or effort?
Yes.
So you move on.
Deep. I mean, it was just like, it was just an outline. We didn't even dig deep into it.
So Travis comes along, some time passes, and y'all elect to put the patio there.
Yeah, that was the original plan,
You'd broken up with Travis,
Jeremy.
Jeremy, excuse me, I apologize. You'd broken up with Jeremy. Now, Wilma next door testified that they detected an odor about your property. Was there any odor floating about on your property?
No. I mean, we had rescued one pig. We got another, a wild male and female. They had babies. And Robert Seha and his wife, they had horses. They also had dogs. They were renting the back property to keep some of their horses. And they had dogs. And there was a few occasions where the dogs had come up and with the little pigs. It's not a pretty sight. So I don't know if that's what she was smelling, but, and with the birds, like I said, with 400 birds, we used to slaughter them. I used to cut the chicken meat. Like, we had ducks, guinea fowl, quail. We had tons. I had a license to sell. We sold to a restaurant in Winter Garden. There was an obvious odor. Yes.
So when y'all prep this area and you put the patio down, did you and Travis put your initials in the concrete?
We did.
Would you have done that if you knew there was a body underneath there? Would you have posted photographs on the internet or on social media
Absolutely not.
if you had knowledge that there's a body underneath
Absolutely
there?
not. If I knew, everything would have changed, everything that occurred. The only reason why we laid the patio when we did was because we were trying to have this huge birthday party for Isabel. Robert Seha and his wife, they had the horses, and we invited essentially everybody from Pine Ridge to the house. And they were going to have the horses going through the backyard, and the kids could do hand printing and stuff on them. So we did that. So we were just trying to level everything out, make it look nice, have a gathering place. That's all that it was. That's why it wasn't placed until right before her birthday in September.
Place for people to stand and sit on.
Yeah, it's just to level the ground out. I mean, it was sitting in the shed, had been sitting there since the beginning of the year. We just decided that was like the right time to do it.
You know, there's been talk about and documents introduced regarding this social media, Facebook, etc. Do you know who posted some of those images, any of those images?
On my,
There's images from your account, Michael's account, other accounts. Did Jay have access to social media at your house?
yes. Oh, a lot of people did. We lived in, everybody had access to the Wi-Fi password. It was America One. Scotty Matuccio, Jay, Frank, Wilma, everybody. You could not be at that house without being connected to Wi-Fi if you wanted to have connection to anything. We kept the password straight. It was America One. Everybody knew it. I posted those things on my Facebook. I did not post those things to Michael's Facebook.
There's time frames where the state's made issue of this account being open and that account being open. Do you have any explanation for that?
I don't. I mean, I was on Facebook every single day. My job required me to investigate people, so I was always on the internet, social media, investigating people.
We've heard testimony as well that those accounts can be accessed remotely, off-site, and contain the same IP address, correct?
Yes.
That somebody can be in the house, sharing the same router, share the same IP address, correct?
Yes.
We've seen, and the state has introduced into evidence at this stage, a tarp that was in this pit. Did y'all have ownership of a blue tarp?
Not at that point. We had a tarp when we got a pool. I know Travis bought a tarp to put under the pool.
Later when you were with Travis?
Yes.
Okay. Did you have one at the time of the demise of Michael Shaver?
Not to my knowledge.
Did you have the strap wrenches that were introduced or the straps themselves on your property?
No, not to my knowledge. When I went and got the concrete and stuff, I did not do anything with strap wrenches or anything like that.
The laminate flooring, that was testified to, did you have the same or similar laminate flooring on your property?
No, the flooring, the remodeling that was done before we even moved in. When we bought that house, we got it at a really good price. It wasn't in foreclosure, but the inside essentially looks like it was in foreclosure. The floors in the rooms were destroyed from previous dogs, and I'm OCD and very clean. And we hired somebody to come in and clean it, and Michael went in and changed all the flooring in that house before I would allow us to even move in and bring the kids in there, because it was disgusting.
Was Austin, was he at the house when that pit was poured, the patio?
No,
He testified he was.
he was not. He was not there. Travis and I did that ourselves. And originally, Travis thought he could just do it by himself, and then he went and rented the mixer. We didn't realize that, it was a big area. He had never done that before. I don't know. I guess he thought it was going to be easy as just mixing up some bags, but that's why he ended up going and running the mixer.
We saw the photographs of the distance between the residence and the gravesite. Did you back at that period of time, and we see your photos, were you that physical size back in that time period?
Yes.
Did you have the physical capability even of moving that body?
160-pound man? No. When I was at the gym working out, I could probably do 30 pounds. Prior to getting a personal trainer, I was working out from home with just hand weights. Did I have an endurance? Yes. I ran marathons.
Laurie, the jurors are going to ask themselves, why didn't you call the police?
Scared?
Scared of what Jay had said or Jeremy had said?
I didn't know what to do. I had just been beaten. Like everything just happened so suddenly. I didn't know what to do. That's why all I wanted to do was get the kids out and get back home. And when I came back home, he was not there. Jeremy was not there, and I could not get a hold of him. He came back that afternoon.
There was testimony Isabel gave about after you broke up with Jeremy, about him continuing to follow you.
Yes.
Okay. Tell the jurors about those events.
There was times, I think Isabel had mentioned, I was already dating Travis. I went to go pick him up from the church, and I'm at the intersection, and Jeremy's there right beside me, yelling and screaming at me to roll down the windows, and then proceeds to follow us to real life. We used to shop at the Publix, Claremont 27, and he would just pop up and then start questioning, what are you guys doing? Where are you going? Have you said anything? Make sure you don't say anything. So then we started going to the Publix in Groveland, and all of a sudden he would start showing up there. Target, same thing. Walmart, that's where he showed me his tattoo. It was the summer of 2016, and I was with Travis. And he lifted up, we were in the cereal aisle at Walmart, and he lifted up his shirt and showed me his tattoo in front of my kids and everybody else standing in the aisle of a skull.
It was a skull.
Yes.
Did Jeremy occasionally drive by the residence?
Yes. So when we moved, got this place, and we put 6 cameras up outside our property because we noticed there was an increase in traffic, and I was really paranoid going anywhere. I look my surroundings before I get out. I was always afraid that he was following. Was picking the kids up for school before we even had moved, and he had gotten out of his truck and ran down the middle of the road straight at my truck, yelling and screaming in front of the school on multiple occasions, trying to get me to converse with him. I had agreed to meet him on a couple occasions, yes, for like 10 minutes, and we would have conversations of like, nope, haven't said anything. He wanted me to wait for him, wanted everything to settle down with his wife, and I refused. So when we moved, once the body was found, I lost my job. Travis was a youth leader at the time. He started working for a granite company. Finances had gotten really tight. We found a home that we could afford. We got the cameras, and Jeremy was caught on those cameras on a couple occasions, going by. If I seen him now, I would not recognize him if he was standing in front of me.
Go back a bit. You spoke about, and you have images, clear images, as to the events that would happen on a regular basis. Let's reflect back on that, though. Were these acts events that would cause serious bodily harm to you?
Yes.
Were these events that would involve, likewise, domestic violence, shouting, and threats?
Yes, that and more.
Okay. Do you believe that you would be here today but for the act of Isabel?
Sorry, what?
The event where Michael was shot, Isabel acted, came to your aid. Do you believe you might not be alive but for Isabel and or Jay?
Correct. Yeah.
Laurie, have you testified from your heart the truth of these events? Have I left anything out that you feel that you need to tell the juries to clarify any issues that you've spoken of at this stage?
I mean, there's a lot I would like to get out.
Okay, direct me to the topic. I know we can't go into the detail of these events, though. Okay. Aside from that, is there anything else?
Michael had a lot of anger.
Objection, Your
No,
Honor.
please.
Sustained.
Well, we've spoken about his
Yes.
emotional attitude,
Correct.
but we can't get really
I know. I know.
the events that we've spoken.
Objection, Your Honor. This isn't a question.
All right,
No, I'm
sustained.
just correcting her so we don't go down that path.
Yes, sir. All right. Please ask a question if you wish.
So, aside from the issues that we've spoken about, the temperament and the disposition and the atmosphere and all the matters that we've discussed, is there anything else that you feel that the jury should know?
Objection, Your Honor. Calls for narrative. It's not a question.
Sustained. Please ask a specific
Okay.
question if you wish.
Is there a topic that we have not discussed?
No, nothing that I'm going to be able to talk about at this time.
All right. Thank you, Judge.
Yes, sir. All right, let's have a sidebar. All right, State, you may proceed.
Ms. Shaver, in the beginning of your testimony, I believe you may have misspoke. Mr. Wiggs asked you when you were married to Mike Shaver, and you said May of 2016. When did you get married to Michael Shaver?
2006.
Okay. That's okay. Now, the biggest question I have for you, because you didn't mention it once in your entire story, is when did your husband get killed?
The exact date I cannot recall. It was beginning of May of 2016. It was not November.
Okay. So sometime, you don't know, but sometime in May of 2016 is when this happened. Okay. Now, your phone number prior to this homicide was 352-431-0419, correct? You don't know your phone number?
That's not my phone number now.
Okay. You don't,
I do not recall my.
okay. But if that's the phone number that is from all those screenshots between you and Jeremy Townsend that you saw,
Yes.
would that refresh your memory that that was your phone number?
Yeah.
Okay. And you, at some point, changed your number to 352-431-8444, correct?
I don't believe, I can't recall that because at some point I put my parents on my phone line.
You remember seeing the court document that was submitted into evidence where you put your address and phone number on it?
Yes.
Okay. And that 844
Okay.
number
Yeah.
was what you listed?
Yeah. I don't remember the phone numbers from back then, and since then, I have also had my parents on my phone bill.
My question was whether or not that was your phone number. You agree that the 8444 number was your phone number, based on that court document?
Yes.
You would have been truthful in a court document, correct?
Yes.
Okay. Now, I also, one of the statements that you made, I think you said you wouldn't recognize Jeremy?
Today, when he walked in, I would have never recognized him today. That's not what he looks like.
All right. Now, you mentioned the fact that he had this skull tattoo. You have a skull tattoo too, right? All right. So that doesn't really mean anything.
Well, I had mine way before.
Okay. Now, you were saying that you met Jeremy Townsend in August of 2015,
Yes, at the end of August.
and that he passed you some sort of Post-it note.
There was-
Yes? All right. And you had talked about because you had marks on your face or something like that. Is that a yes?
Yes.
All right. Now, according to you, Michael Shaver had left the residence in November of 2015, correct? Your residence.
Yes.
All right.
I had kicked him out.
All right. And, well, I thought that you were the type of person that would just shut down and retreat and couldn't confront anybody. That was your words, right?
No, I said that I'm not the type of person where if you come at me and say something like belittling me or anything like that, I shut down and retreat. I'm not confrontational.
All right.
And that was in the context of
You kicked him
me and my daughter.
But you can't. But you were confrontational with Mike Shaver.
Yeah, I told him to get out because he knew that if I called the cops, and he would definitely be kicked out, and he would be picked up. So yes,
All right.
it was pretty much easy to get him out.
Let's try to figure out this timeline then. In September of 2014, he was arrested for a domestic incident that involved you, correct?
Correct.
And that is when he went to the airport hangar, correct? Where he started living.
Yes.
All right. Did he move back into the house after that?
Yes.
All right. When did that happen?
I don't know the exact time.
Okay.
It was.
How long had he
It
been gone?
wasn't. He had been gone over a year.
All right. So sometime in 2015.
It was, yeah, probably summer 2015.
Okay. So if the arrest was in September of 2014, approximately 6 to 8 months that he was gone?
No, it was greater than that because he had finished his probation period.
Okay. And in that incident, he also suffered injuries, correct?
Yes.
Because you hit him over the head with a gun, correct?
Well, he had the gun pointed at my head, and at that point, I was done. I thought I was giving up at that point. I had nothing left in me until I seen my kids come out and start screaming. And as soon as I seen them, I took and slammed that gun into his head. Yes.
Okay. Have you ever told anyone that he was not at fault for that incident and it was actually you?
No.
No. Did you throw a vase of flowers into the sliding glass door and break that?
I did.
We're getting into specific conduct that the state is moved to exclude.
Can we approach, please?
Sidebar, please.
During that incident, did you throw a vase breaking the sliding glass door? Okay. And you also broke objects in the bathroom, correct?
No, I did not.
There's pictures of the sliding glass door from that incident. You've seen those, correct?
Yes.
And other items in the house that were broken, correct?
Correct.
Along with the injuries to you and the injuries to Mr. Shaver.
The only injury that I was aware of was to his head.
Okay. And his pants were torn, correct?
He would hold my keys in his pants and would not let me leave the residence. So after I hit him in the head, pushed the gun into his head, I had to reach into his pocket and grab my truck keys so that I could evade the property with my children and get to safety.
Now, after he left in November of 2015,
Okay.
got it straight now? Okay. After he left in November of 2015, was this incident, which ultimately led to his death, the first time that he came back?
Yes, it was.
Okay. So then in August, I'm sorry, you're saying you actually started a relationship with Jeremy Townsend in August of 2015?
We started talking in August, and Michael was still at the residence.
Okay. So after November of 2015, he does not come back to the house.
Correct.
So that check that was sent to him and deposited in his account, he would not have received, correct?
I don't know. He got his mail.
How did he get his mail if he wasn't at the house?
The mailbox was not at my residence. It was at the end of the road.
Okay. So after he left in November of 2015, are you saying that he would just come by every day to pick up his mail?
I don't know what he did.
Did you ever notice any mail missing?
How would I know if it was missing?
Did you ever notice any of your stuff missing?
No. Did he
Did you
have
ever
his-
notice any mail coming for Michael Shaver to that address after he left?
Yes, a few things.
What would you do with that in order to get it to him?
I would take it back to the post office and do return mail. No longer at this address.
Where was it going?
I don't know.
Where was he?
I don't know. I assumed probably back at the hangar.
If he left in November of 2015 and went to go live at the hangar, why would he quit his job at Disney?
Because there was a sexual harassment charge against him.
Okay. You heard that his supervisor came in and said there was no such thing and there's nothing in those records, correct?
Oh, I did. I heard that.
Are you saying that Disney falsified those records?
The sexual harassment complaint filed against him came directly from Michael's mouth.
Okay. And you had access to his bank accounts, correct?
Yes, he had access to mine as well.
And you withdrew money from his accounts, correct?
And deposited money, correct?
All right. In November of 2015, what deposits were you making in his account?
I have no idea. I'm not sure that I was.
Deposit that Mariner check into his account?
No, I have no idea what that is.
All right. The money from the sale of all of his property, how did you get that to him?
Well, it was not necessarily his property.
Okay,
It was
what about
on
his guns?
his guns. Okay, so after he was arrested and
My question was, how did you get the money from the sale of his guns to him if you didn't know where he was?
I did not give him the money from the sale of the guns. Those were not his guns.
Would you have any way, if you say you don't even know where he is, would you have any way of getting him any of that money?
No, I never said I gave him money.
You just said you deposited money into his account.
No, I mean, that was throughout the whole marital. I would deposit money and take out money. He worked overnights. So during the day, if he needed anything, any shopping and all of that for the well-being of the house and the kids, I would do that during the day because he was sleeping because he worked overnights.
As far as the Facebook records, all the stuff from the Laurie Shaver Facebook account, you would agree you posted, correct? All right. None of that stuff was anybody hacking you or anything like that.
Did not appear so.
All right. And you had access to Michael Shaver's Facebook, correct?
Previously,
Okay. How did you have access to his account?
well, previously we had a joint account. After we had separated in 2014, I believe we separated emails, Facebook. Prior to that, everything was joint. After that, we went from a joint bank account to 2 bank accounts, 2 emails, 2 Facebooks. Prior to that, everything was joint because he controlled everything.
Did you have his password?
Previously, well, it was a joint password because it was a joint account
When he had his own account? When did he start his own account?
after we had separated in 2014.
Did you have his password for that account?
Well, that was our account.
When you said he started his own account, my question is, all right, and did you ever post anything on his account?
No, I did not.
Did your daughter have his password?
I don't believe so.
Was anyone else living in your house after May of 2016 that had access to his phone or password for Facebook?
I don't know about the password, but there was 2 tablets. There was a laptop and a desktop.
Did they have his Facebook profile in it?
Everything was automatic. Everything was already logged in. So all you had to do was just log it, like open it up, and you were automatically logged in.
Was your daughter posting on his Facebook?
No.
Was your son posting on his Facebook? Oh. Now, did you ever tell anyone that after he left in November of 2015 that he was in jail for failing to pay child support?
I did.
That wasn't true, correct?
No, it was not. That was an old manager that I had a relationship with way back when, and he had moved back from Connecticut to Florida and was reaching out to me, and he was curious. I was not.
That's Ramin, correct?
Correct.
And when you say relationship, that's another affair, correct?
Correct.
But you told him that Mike was in jail for failing to pay child support and his license was suspended, correct?
I gave him my personal information, and he was asking about that because.
Okay, wait, hold on one second. How is Mike being in jail your personal information?
Accurate personal information because he was questioning. Because prior to that, there was conversations where Michael had threatened once again, after finding out, to kill me.
All right. So when you told your manager that you had a prior affair with that Mike was in jail, that was a lie. Did you tell your sister that you guys had been working out a separation agreement?
Yes. Well, we actually did work out a separation agreement, and it was filed with the court.
In order to do that, you have to get was that here in Lake County?
It was.
Okay, so there is some sort of divorce proceeding with your name on it and Michael Shaver's because you just said you filed something in court, correct?
I did not say divorce. You said separation. So after 2014, after that incident, we both had attorney representation, and Michael and I came up with an agreement, handwritten. We both signed it. That was filed.
Where?
Here.
Where?
At this courthouse.
What case is that in?
Whatever the prior DCF is, and I had won that case with no adjudication. I don't know where that record is, but it was filed. And in that agreement, he agreed to pay X amount of money. I would keep the kids. He could not take the kids. He would see them every other weekend, whatever. We had that separation. I made more money than he did. I covered the health insurance. I covered the kids. I kept the house. He was moving out of the house, and he was going to pay X, Y, Z. That was a handwritten document that both of us signed in front of the mediator at this DCF agreement that I won with no adjudication.
Was there ever a divorce proceeding started?
No, there was not. Not in the state of Florida.
After 2015, was there ever a divorce proceeding started?
No.
When law enforcement came and asked you about the whereabouts of your husband, you were not truthful with them, correct?
I didn't know where he went.
You know what happened to him, correct? All right, you didn't tell him that, correct? The Walmart purchase that was on your husband's bank account, you did that, correct?
I don't recall doing that.
That was sent to your house with your name on it, correct?
Yeah. All right. I don't recall, like, the exact parameters around it or what I bought or anything like that.
So this event happens in May of 2016, correct? Say yes?
Yes.
your relationship with Jeremy Townsend ends very tumultuously in May of 2016, correct? So yes?
Yes.
And your relationship with Travis Filmer then begins in May of 2016, correct?
He came over at the end of May. Yes.
And you were actually engaged to him in July of 2016, correct?
Yes.
In April of 2016, Rebecca Urbanowski was living with you, correct?
Right.
Okay. And the fire pit itself was built in March of 2016?
I guess so. I don't
That's when you posted it, right? And then how big was your property?
5 acres.
And out of all of that land, you just happened to choose the area where your dead husband's body was found to put that cement slab. That's basically what you're saying here, correct?
No, because I did not know his body was there. It went there because that area was already dug out.
Quite a coincidence, you'd agree, correct?
No, not necessarily. Not if you realize the whole parameters of what came first and how that all transpired. Like I said, that was something that Jeremy and I had originally talked about doing because I had gotten rid of the animals and we had the fire pit and we were talking about wanting to, I mean, it was his suggestion to put in concrete.
So the March 2016 is when you put that fire pit in, and 2 months later is when your husband is killed on your property, correct?
Yes. But the concrete was not poured until September.
Correct, by you and your now husband.
But I had no knowledge that he was under there. If I was trying to cover him up, why would I do that so many months later? And only,
I haven't asked you a question, ma'am. So, the incident that led to your husband's death, your husband had not been around for months, correct?
correct,
And he just happens to show up sometime in May of 2016, correct?
not just happened. That was pretty typical of him being gone for months and then showing up and us getting back together.
Okay.
That was,
And then during that time frame, this was sometime before you were going to take your kids to school, correct?
yes, he was out on the porch when I went.
How was he dressed?
Coffee. Shorts, t-shirt,
Okay.
sneakers.
And an argument between the two of you starts.
Yes, I went outside. I got the kids settled and I went outside to talk to him.
How old was your daughter at this point?
7.
And is there a reason why you never taught your daughter how to dial 911?
I mean, we just had cell phones. We didn't have a landline. She knew how to dial 911, but like I said, I had my cell phone on me. The security system that we had, she would have not have been able to reach. It was above the keys where the door was.
Well, when she said, I didn't know how to call 911, I'm asking why you wouldn't have taught her.
I did teach her how to call 911, but she didn't have a phone.
Okay. Now, your testimony is that she shot him, correct?
Yes.
And at that point, that you were able to get out from underneath Mr. Shaver, correct?
I did not crawl away until he was falling to the ground. After she shot him, I was still looking at her, like, still comprehending everything that was happening. I wasn't 2 yet because he had his foot on my face, smushing it into the ground. It took me, I mean, it wasn't that long, but it took me a little bit to kind of comprehend what was occurring. And then,
Certainly didn't get up after being shot, correct? He certainly didn't get up out of the chair after being shot, correct?
no, not until, no. After the second shot, he fell forward. The first shot, he sat in the chair.
At the time of his death, Mike Shaver was about 5'3"?
5'3".
Mm-hmm.
He was like 5'8", 5'10".
Now, the
I'm 5'2".
the probable cause affidavit around the time of his arrest listed him at 5'3" and 130 pounds. You're saying that's inaccurate?
That was probably me.
Okay, you weren't arrested, right?
His probable cause from 2014?
Yes. You're saying that 5'3" and 130 pounds is inaccurate, is what you're saying?
Yes, that's
Okay.
definitely probably not what's on his driver's license. He was not 5'3". He was like 5'8" and 150, 160 pounds. I was 5'2" and 115, 20.
When Mike left, he left his vehicle, correct?
You're talking about the black car.
No, I'm talking about he had a vehicle and he left it behind, correct?
His black car had been sitting there for a while. He had a bent rim, and the air in the tire could not stay inflated. So he was driving my truck back and forth to work.
Right. My question was, when he left and moved out, he left his car, correct? And he left everything that he had any sort of value that could be sold, correct? His guns,
He took
his
stuff,
tools,
yes.
his ATV, left all that behind.
All the tools that were in the shed were of no use to him. They were like old tools and stuff like that, and it wasn't an ATV.
My question was, he left the stuff behind, stuff that he could have sold, correct?
Correct.
He stopped going to work and lost his job because of it, correct?
I was not aware of that at that time.
So he lost his ability to make any money, correct?
I was not aware of that at that time.
Prior to November of 2015, he would call you using the phone frequently, correct?
Yes, because he was back in the house and we were trying to work things out.
After November of 2015, there is absolutely no calls to you after that November 7th, 2015, correct?
I don't recall.
There's not a single call to you, to the children, anything, correct?
I don't recall.
There's no activity on his bank other than withdrawals from the ATM in Claremont where you lived, correct?
I wouldn't know that.
November 2015, he just vanishes off the face of the earth. No one can account for him, correct?
I don't believe that's true.
But you've definitely not had any contact with him in any way until he shows up someday, which you do not know, in May of 2016 when this incident occurs, correct?
No, he showed up prior to May.
I
At
asked
my
you-
property, but he was already causing trouble prior to that, which fits within his history of doing this.
My question to you previously was, after you kicked him out in November of 2015, and prior to him coming up the day that he was killed, I asked you, did he ever come, have any contact with you? You said no, correct?
Not physically, correct. But calls and stuff like that, yes.
Calls?
Texts, his threats, stuff like that.
You saw the phone records, which show
Okay.
absolutely no
Text,
calls from
Facebook
him
messages,
after November
there
7th,
was-
correct?
Let her answer the question, please.
All right,
He
please
was-
allow the witness to finish. Thank you.
He was communicating with Jeremy. I believe he had sent me text. He had sent me a nasty text prior to that, telling me I was just like my mom, something to that effect. He was communicating.
From your IP address.
I don't know that that's my IP address. How can you verify that?
Because it's the same IP address that your account that you says you used posted on as well.
Okay, how do we know that he didn't post on my or log into my Facebook?
So what vehicle, the day that he showed up in May of 2016, what vehicle did you use to get to your house that day?
I don't know.
What vehicle was in your yard that you didn't recognize that day?
In May?
Yes.
There was not a vehicle.
So he gets walked? You just showed up without a vehicle in your house on the back porch.
I was not paying attention to that.
Nothing further, Judge.
Thank you, Mr. Wiggs.
I don't have anything. Thank you, Judge.
All right, yes, sir. Thank you. You may step down from the witness stand. Any other witnesses, Mr. Wiggs?
No, at this, excuse me, at this time, the defense would rest, Judge.
All right, the defense has rested. And at this time, thank you for your time and attention today. Members of the jury, I will excuse you at this point. I'll ask you to return tomorrow to the jury assembly room at 8 a.m. Again, please do not do any research regarding the case. Please do not view or read any media concerning the case. And do not speak to each other or anyone else about the case. Should you see the attorneys out and about, they have been instructed to ignore you, so please do not hold that against them. Well, thank you again for your time today, and have a nice night. We'll see you tomorrow morning. Please take the jurors out. Thank you. Are there any motions at this time?
Judge, yes, we renew our motion for judgment of acquittal, same grounds, there's no causation, proof of homicide that the state could establish that's attributable to Laurie Shaver. There's no tangible documents, the IP data and the digital documents were unreliable, not authorized. Of course, there's prejudicial not mistakes, but evidence that the state has introduced in the form of introduction of other guns, banking records, nothing to tie Laurie Shaver to this homicide. There's digital data, there's improper stacking, and I know that stacking's proper, but the state didn't follow the proper procedures to do so, and that the state has failed to lay the proper predicate for the digital data and reliability therein.
All right, state's response.
We'll rest on our prior argument.
All right, the motion is respectfully denied. Thank you. Is there anything else before we conclude? We're going to meet at 8 o'clock tomorrow morning for the charge conference. Is there anything further?
No, sir. No, sir.
All right, then we're adjourned for the day. Thank you.
Thank you, Judge.
Have a nice night.